Hello again everyone, this is Rob, aka Hated Hero. Today I'm bringing you a battleground focused Stamina Nightblade build that uses medium armor, does not use the cloak ability, and does not use any proc sets for free damage. This build has very high resistances due to a couple of set piece combinations we're using, and one of the Nightblade passives through their skill line. We'll go ahead and get right into the sets of this build. We're running one piece Pirate Skeleton. This gives us 2640 physical resist and 2640 spell resistance. Our next one piece we're using is Mighty Chuden. This gives us the same bonus as Pirate Skeleton. Now some people may ask why you're not running a two-piece of Pirate Skeleton, why you're not running a two-piece of Mighty Chuden. We're not running a two-piece of Mighty Chuden because we get Major Ward and Major Resolve through a passive in the Nightblade class line, which we'll get into in a minute. The reason why we're not running two Pirate Skeleton is because this is a battleground focused build and healing is already at a low point. When this set procs, you do take 30% reduced incoming damage, but you also have your healing reduced by 15%. And that's just not something I'm willing to lose in Battlegrounds. We would also lose an overall higher physical and spell resist by going with a two-piece of Pirate Skeleton. On our front bar, we're also running 5 Spriggans. This gives us max stam, weapon damage, and 4000 physical penetration. This build is in preparation for the next update, update 15. So we're using this to rely on our armor pen. And because we're getting 4000 armor penetration from this set, we're able to go with a precise sword on our damage bar. This is helping us acquire over 40% crit in a non-CP scenario and 50+% crit in a CP scenario. The second 5-piece set we're running is Shield Breaker. This is on both bars. It gives us max stamina, stam recovery, weapon damage, and when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack against a player with a damage shield, you deal an additional 2100 oblivion damage to them. That's half in PvP, but it helps us keep just enough pressure on those shield stacking sorks that they've got to do more than just sit there and shield stack and survive our damage. If they don't get on the offensive with us, we will kill them. On the jewelry, I run 1 weapon damage, 2 recovery. As I say with all my builds, you can put whatever you want on your jewelry, whatever fits your playstyle. This is what I have found works the best. Back bar, I'm running a powered greatsword, again because healing is not that great in Battlegrounds. We're not using cloak to guarantee a crit on our rally heal. So this 7% increased healing is something I'm finding to be very beneficial, and this build is already tanky enough that not having defending on this bar is not affecting us at all. The enchant on the shield that I'm running is also stamina, and the reason why I'm going with sword and board on this build, even though it's not a block build, is because when we have an incoming massive amount of damage from, say, a Nightblade using procs or a magic user using Soul Assault, we're able to absorb all that damage and still have a nice amount of health left and stamina. Whereas if we were running a two-handed setup or a dual wield setup, we might survive after blocking all of it, but we're more than likely going to be out of stamina and near death. With this setup, you're able to survive the Soul Assault, the incoming proc burst, and immediately get on the offensive and more than likely win the fight. So those are the sets. Now we'll hop into the skills. Excuse me. On our damage bar, we are running Killer's Blade. This is our execute. Thrust the caustic blade with lethal precision to stab an enemy, dealing 2700 disease damage. But an additional 300% damage if the target is below 25% health. This also has a very nice, clearly visible animation around anybody that is within this 25% execute range, so you know who to target. This also heals us for 20% of our max health if the target dies within 2 seconds. Very beneficial, very helpful. Our next skill is Relentless Focus. This is giving us 8% damage increase via Minor Berserk. It's also increasing our stamina recovery by 10% for 20 seconds. Additionally, after hitting an enemy with 5 light or heavy attacks, it charges this ability to unleash something called Assassin's Scourge. And this deals an insane amount of disease damage. So basically, as we use this build, we're going to be light attack, surprise attack, weaving. And just throughout our natural flow of battle, we will proc this ability. It can then be used as burst with your ultimate, surprise attack, and then killer blade combinations to kill. Resolving Vigor, this is our heal. Surprise attack, this is our spammable source of DPS. This also reduces the enemy's armor by 5280 for 17 seconds. It also procs a passive under our skill line here that gives us major resistances. This is why we're not running 2-piece of Mighty Chuden. We get it with this passive. So throughout our whole fight, light attack, weaving, surprise attacks, we are going to have major resistances. So to quickly show you how that works. Right now, our spell and physical resist is 18,000 on both. If we come over to one of these little bugs here, hit it with a surprise attack, our resistances are now 24,000 each. Absolutely amazing for a medium armor build. And it will remain at that throughout the fight as long as you're weaving in your surprise attacks. This also pairs very well with Spriggans, giving us nearly 10,000 armor penetration against our targets. Which is, again, another reason why we can get by with a little bit lower of what you would call a meta weapon damage build. Our last skill on this bar is Mass Hysteria. This fears up to 3 enemies around you. It goes through block, so it's very helpful against perma-blocking builds. It also affects the enemy with minor maim, so it reduces their damage by 15% and applies a snare to them. Our ultimate on our front bar is Incapacitating Strike. It does disease damage. If they are not CC immune, it stuns them and knocks them down. It also increases our damage against that player by 20% for 6 seconds. And affects them with Major Defile, reduces their healing by 30%. This is a huge, huge part of our combination of killing targets. Most targets go down fairly easy, but if you're fighting a tanky Templar that heals a lot and is just being quite a pain to kill, you're going to use your Relentless Focus on them. You're going to have this ready to go. You're going to potentially fear, maybe before you end cap, or you can just end cap to start the burst combination. So the combination would be a light attack, surprise attack. That's going to break the target's armor if it isn't already broken. You're then going to fear or end cap. You can do both. Sometimes when you fear someone, though, if they're quick, they'll CC break it and then dodge roll, and your end cap will miss. So that's why I say you may or may not do that. So you're going to light attack, surprise attack, end cap, and you want to make sure that this ability is procced and ready to go. While the target is laying on the ground, you'll hit this ability. So you'll hit them with your spectral bow right after an end cap. So it's going to be increased by 20% damage. And if they're not already in execute range where you can start using killer blade, just throw in one more light attack, surprise attack, and they will more than likely be within execute range. Our back bar. This is our buff bar / defensive bar. We're running Stampede. This is our gap closer. It also does a slight snare to the target. Shadow Image. We use this to get out of bad situations. If we know we're going to go into an outnumbered battle, for instance, we will put our Shadow Image down, and we use this to escape the battle. Since we're not using Cloak, we need some kind of maneuverability. This helps us out significantly. It also applies Minor Maim to your target, reducing their damage. Rally, this is our heal over time, and burst heal when we need it. Leeching Strikes, this is a form of sustain for us and also gives us a little bit of health. This gives us stamina on light and heavy attacks for 20 seconds, and then an additional 4,270 stamina when the effect ends. And Double Take. This is our Magicka dump since we're not really using anything that uses magic except for Shadow Image. And it also is a form of major expedition for us. It only lasts for 4 seconds, but that is enough time to get around the corner or line of sight when you may need to. And it also helps you in battlegrounds capture flags and get to objectives quicker. That's the main reason we're using this. We're not even necessarily using it for the dodge chance. That's just a bonus. We're mostly using it for that 4 seconds of major expedition. And our ultimate on our back bar is Soul Tether. This will stun all the enemies around you and apply a siphoning effect that heals you every 1 second while the enemies remain nearby. So if we're outnumbered and we know we're about to die and we have this ultimate ready, we pop it, we stun everybody around us, and we get enough healing received that we normally don't die, and it gives us a chance to try and escape while they're stunned. Those are the skills. That is why I use them. This build is so much fun, everybody. You'll really enjoy this, and you'll feel good about yourself not playing a Nightblade in the typical fashion. I will quickly show you all the buff stats. We've got 15,000 health, 30,000 max stamina, right at 31,000, 2,200 stamina recovery, 2,400 weapon damage, and that is before our weapon damage enchant procs. That is what I run on my front bar. So it's an additional 348 before multipliers from what you see there. %, critical. 1,500 crit resist. This should be higher, but I am missing one piece of impin. I would like my shoulder piece to be impenetrable, but it's not. It's 30. And then our physical and spell resist are around 19k, and again, when you're in combat, they're actually higher than that. That is with 8 points into health and 56 points into stamina. We had to put 8 points into health to get ourselves to the 20k health threshold that I personally like to have in Battlegrounds. We're running the Thief boon. You can swap this out for any boon you want with this build. I've just found that the extra crit chance I really enjoy. You can go with the Warrior for more weapon damage. You can go with Stam recovery, or the Serpent for more Stam recovery. This build is super flexible as far as what boon to use. And then I'm a stage 4 vampire. You do not have to be a vampire. However, when you get to low health, the damage reduction that this gives you is very nice. And I enjoy it. It's worth the extra fire damage for me. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, I am a Wood Elf on this build. I feel like Redguard, Orc, Wood Elf, Khajiit, any of those stamina type races would go just fine with this build. that's it, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you put this build together and go out there and have some fun. I will have a video following shortly.
Like a hand grenade, thrown in a hurricane, spinning in chaos, trying to escape the flame. Yesterday is gone, faster than the blast of a carnal. And when the scars heal, the pain passes. As hope burns, we rise from the ashes. Darkness fades away, and the light shines on a brave new day. Our future's here and now. Here comes the countdown.
There's a guy here with a gun. Ma'am? Ma'am? Kid! Get under the table! Kid, get under the table!
We're getting in reports from all around the globe showing the highest unemployment rates since the end of World War II. Many are losing their jobs, their homes, and in many cases, their home.
Domestic disturbance in progress at Fox Hill Circle North, proceeding 1020.